Hey everyone. So today I want to talk a little bit about social media marketing, social media as a whole, and just thinking about things like promoting engagement and bringing users closer to your brand, increasing your brand visibility, attracting potential customers, creating a warm and welcoming and engaging environment, fostering brand affinity and loyalty, incubating inspiration, fostering trust, attracting more followers, and hopefully increasing your retention. And I want to do that building on something we were just talking about before, which is this idea of trust. And today I'm just going to ladder that up a little bit by using Robert Cialdini's book Pre-Suasion. As always, I invite you to feel free to subscribe to this podcast and hopefully some value is created by some unique insights. So let's just get to it. So I mentioned already that in our last video we were talking about building trust, this idea put forward in the paper called An Integrative Model of Organizational Trust, and a book by Jeff Hawkins called On Intelligence, Classify, Sequence, Pattern Prediction. Basically, he proposes that is how the brain actually learns: classify, sequence, pattern prediction. And the better we can understand how the brain learns, the better job we can do with artificial intelligence in getting them to learn in a similar type of way. So I think that's important when we think about social media and how people learn things about our brand, how people learn things about us. And I want to line that with a book called Pre-Suasion, where Robert Cialdini is talking a little bit about preparing people for that conversation you're going to have with them. How do you persuade? How can you be influential, shall we say? And so, yeah, let's have a look at that. So, again, we were talking a little bit about that model of organizational trust, and basically the foundation of it was that person has to demonstrate ability, benevolence, and integrity in order to build trust. And each of us has a different propensity to trust, but if we see those things, or if we don't see those things, it'll determine whether or not we'll trust. And within those moments, understanding people, understanding brands, there's going to be privileged moments where perhaps a moment occurs where there was a really significant happening in the relationship where it was necessary to take some risks, again, without being able to monitor the person who you trust, the person trusting or the trust or is going to have to trust that person that they're going to do the thing. And then there was some kind of an outcome. Was that trust well placed or was it not? And that was kind of the model that we had seen. Well, let's align that with what Robert Cialdini talks about in his book, Pre-Suasion. So first, he talks a little bit about, in order to be persuasive, you should demonstrate some authority. And so that kind of aligns with our model when we think about ability. So authority and ability basically aligns to be kind of the same thing. So you might earn a degree, you might even see some things that are going to trigger that. For me, always when I see a stethoscope, I think that person has some kind of medical ability and therefore they have the authority, and I will listen to them. And the same thing Robert Cialdini suggests in his book, that if you're having trouble getting people to follow through with your advice, you want to demonstrate a little bit of authority, a little bit of ability, perhaps hanging your designations in your waiting room so people can appreciate the amount of study you've done in preparation. I think you can do the same thing with YouTube, frankly. When people hang up their YouTube 1 million subscribers or 1 million views, you're demonstrating authority, you're demonstrating ability in that area. The next thing he talks about is reciprocity. And for all of us, when was the last time somebody helped you? And I think this speaks to, in our model, benevolence. And benevolence is basically, do I have that person's best interest at heart? Or does the person who I'm extending my trust to have my best interest at heart? And so if they've done something for you in the past, you are more likely to think, hey, you know what? I trust that person a little bit more because they seem to have my best interest at heart. And so when Robert Cialdini talks about reciprocity, think about when someone has done something for you, what was it that you said? When somebody has helped you in some way, did you do anything? Did you say anything at that time? I think most of us just say, when somebody says thank you, we just say, you're welcome or no problem. And Robert Cialdini challenges us to change our pattern of behavior from just saying, you're welcome, to saying, I know you do the same for me. And what he's trying to do is remind people in that moment about this reciprocity and this reciprocity relationship. And in fact, that person sort of has they're reminded that they have your best interest at heart too. And I think that's really cool. So again, I challenge you to not say you're welcome, which of course we know to be true. They are very welcome. But instead of just simply saying you're welcome, reposition that answer in your mind so that when people say thank you, you say, I know you do the same for me. Cool. So then we move on to something called liking. And we like people who like us. We like people who are like us. And we demonstrate that online. And so this is where I think we have some opportunity here in social media to really engage with our communities and to bring them closer to our brand. And what I mean by that is, if we subscribe to them, if we like, if we comment on the things that our community is creating, our community feels like, hey, those people are like us. I'm going to be more trusting of them. Same thing with who are the people who you follow. You follow probably people who are similar to you, have similar interests, and you're probably blocking the people who do not. And so if we can sort of validate our community, liking what they've created, commenting on their posts, encouraging that kind of engagement, then that's going to help to build trust. Again, looking like demonstrating that we have their best interests at heart, and again, what Robert Cialdini suggests is something like liking. The next thing he mentions is a social proof, and the social proof to me aligns with the model of organizational trust in the sense of integrity. And when integrity, we talked about how influential it is if we have someone from the community say, hey, I know Robert is a great person. He's been very active in all the things our community's been doing, and all of us are buying the book. All of us are subscribing to his podcast. All of us are attending his class. So that social proof, when we don't know what to do, we are going to look at the community to see what does the community say about this. Now, when we talk about social media, this is where we look at reviews, and we're looking to see what is the community saying about this. And how much more impactful is that review is if you actually know that person and they're part of your community. And I think that's really, really critical here, is that we start to be engaged in the community. And when the community is talking about, yeah, I tried that and it worked out great, it really helps to inform people. And this is where we even look at influencers. And influencers are part of our community, typically. And the reason they are an influencer to us is we are influenced by them. And so we're looking to see what is the influencer interested in, and then very likely if it goes well, that experience, then we're more likely to be seeking a similar experience. But this idea of integrity, being consistent with our community values, being consistent with our community as a whole, really aligns nicely with this idea of social proof that Robert Cialdini put forward. in terms of consistency, this is where I think we we think and we learn, like Jeff Hawkins suggested, classify, sequence, pattern, prediction. And I mentioned earlier about retention rates. And if we've done a fairly good job of fostering some trust in people who have taken a risk on our product, frankly, taken a risk on our service, and we've given them good outcomes, then they're probably going to note in their minds that, yes, I can trust this person because when I did trust this person, it was a positive outcome. Again, I think that's very, very influential. Also, because we like to be consistent, it's really important to ask for those reviews, because in asking for those reviews, we are more likely to see that person become a loyal follower of ours. Because again, we like to be consistent. And if we've put that down in writing through a testimonial, through some kind of a recommendation, then we're more likely to want to continue to be consistent because of that's the way our brain learns. Classify, sequence, pattern, prediction. We like to be consistent in what it is that we're doing. We like to be consistent in our actions, in our behaviors. And so therefore, ask for those recommendations. Ask for those reviews. Ask for those testimonials. And you can even use a simple tool like Net Promoter Score to send out an email and ask people who've experienced your service, your good, to say, hey, on a scale from 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our product? And the 9s and the 10s are the folks you probably want to ask for those testimonials from. And those folks, we want to try to engage, and hopefully, not only are they becoming a very loyal supporter of our brand, but we can even put some marketing dollars behind energizing their messages as we go forward. So in the model of organizational trust, they talk about there's a moment where you take the risk. And so Robert Cialdini talks about this idea of scarcity. There's only X number of units, right? So if we're convinced that I trust this brand, I like this community, I see all the community adopting this behavior, whatever that behavior is, but there's only so much of an opportunity to adopt that behavior. So maybe we're thinking only so many units, a limited amount of time. Those kinds of things create scarcity. In these moments, we make that decision, and then we're going to judge the outcome. Robert Cialdini refers to that as kind of privileged moments. And this is where in our brands, it is super critical that we be doing social listening around our brand. Because if somebody made the decision to purchase your product, purchase your service, and they're having a poor experience, to me, that's a privileged moment to demonstrate that they actually made a really good decision in purchasing your product, purchasing your service, because you're going to make it right for them. Those are really privileged moments where that community is making a very firm decision about your brand, about whether or not they should trust you. And so I think, again, that lines up really nicely what Robert Cialdini was talking about. But remember, we want to be doing that social listening. We want to be there at those privileged moments. Maybe things didn't go well. Maybe something's going great. And it's a time we can really engage and energize that message. But we want to be watching for those outcomes and engaging with our community. So I hope this has kind of helped you a little bit on your journey. As always, you rock. And if I can make things a little bit better for you or get you thinking in a different way about being really conscious of the messages that you're sending out, so you become a better communicator. You become a better, sometimes in marketing we refer to it as better marketing copy. But whatever it is you're doing, I'm certain that you are doing it in a great way. And I just want to help you communicate that awesomeness. So in this video, I was hoping that I could help you persuade people and build a little bit more trust again. So if you've liked this, if this has been helpful at all, please do subscribe, and I look forward to engaging with you later. Have a great day, everyone.